Hello, and welcome to Part in the Integration. Get peace of mind when it comes to your business's data with HPE GreenLake, where we discuss top trends in the channel today. I'm your host, Katie Bavoso from the Channel Company. Cyber attacks are becoming increasingly targeted, with more than 18 billion records exposed in the first half of this year alone. As you consider where to store your sensitive data, is the public cloud the right place? Or is there a way to leverage a more secure, customized cloud solution? That's what I'll be discussing with my guests returning today, Andy Johnson, Director of Enterprise Solutions at Milestone Technologies and HPE Gold Partner. The way the podcast works is we have 3 topics with 3 minutes to talk about each. Let's jump right into topic 1, a more secure cloud. Andy, welcome back. It's great to see you again, and we appreciate the time. Tell me, what are some of the concerns and drawbacks of utilizing the public cloud to store businesses' critical data and information?
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for your time today. There's a few areas that we keep hearing about from customers. First, the biggest concern with public cloud is the security of their data. They're very concerned about ransomware. What is the hardware that's underlying their data? That's a big concern. And with ProLiant, we have something called the Silicon Rooted Trust that helps secure and ensure the system is not being compromised. And with public cloud, you don't know where your data is landing. It could be on shared equipment with many other customers, and GreenLake solves that problem. The other issue is performance and latency. So public cloud is not going to be able to accommodate every single workload. Availability and outages, that's a key issue as well. And we actually find customers are moving out of public cloud due to these issues. And they're finding that there's not a good fit for all workloads. They're unable to port legacy apps to a proprietary architecture, and also the fees. The fees start to hit them in their billing cycle with public cloud, and it's starting to make more sense for them to look at a private cloud solution such as GreenLake.
Andy, speaking of GreenLake, how does HPE GreenLake offer a more secure cloud solution, and what else differentiates it from the public cloud?
Well, the most important thing I would say is that the equipment with GreenLake is their own equipment. It's nothing shared. It's in their data center. It really is just like when they purchase equipment for their own use. That's exactly what it is. It could be in their own data center or in a colo facility. There's no ingress or egress fees, as we touched on earlier. There's no throttling of bandwidth. That all goes away with GreenLake. The billing is just a cost per compute and a cost per gigabyte, and we can structure it different ways. And that's really it. It's pretty simple. The other big feature is there's no vendor lock-in. So they can use Hyper-V, VMware, whatever that they would normally install on their capital purchases for hardware. They're not locked into a very specific architecture.
That brings us right into topic 2, a GreenLake success story. So Andy, in your experience, why are your customers switching to GreenLake? What problems do they want to solve?
We're finding that customers and even the governor here in Arizona, they have a mandate to go to the cloud. So when customers think of the cloud, they immediately think of Amazon, Azure, or Google. And so when we're meeting with customers, we're like, okay, define cloud for us. And so once they define that, then we have an introduction to say, okay, what does private cloud sound like to you? So it gets them out of the data center business. And that's a big issue that we're seeing, is they want to get out of having to manage power and cooling and all of that, and having their workloads somewhere else that's sometimes it's not even within the state. Data center costs, there's a perception of lower upfront costs, especially with public cloud. GreenLake is predictable. It removes the constant reaction to new projects. It's like an infrastructure as a service. It's what it is. They have what they need when they need it.
How easy is it to deploy GreenLake to a customer's business?
It's easy to deploy because it's very similar to a typical CapEx purchase. The biggest value with GreenLake is it has a services component built in. So there's an installation team, a migration team that can help. It's really a dedicated base of resources that the customer can draw on. And that's all bundled and wrapped into GreenLake. There's a lot more coordination with GreenLake versus just dropping a whole bunch of hardware on site of the customer and say, see you later. It's actually, there's a lot more handholding and make sure that this is a success. Because one of the features with GreenLake is there's no billing that occurs until it's on site and ready to turn the switch on and the customer signs off on it. It's a very simple statement of work. All the costs are outlined up front. Any additions or changes, it's a 2-page change order, and it makes it very easy for procurement because it's fast and simple, and it's easy to grow the GreenLake platform.
Well, let's put this into a real world perspective. Can you give me a use case in which a customer of Milestone switched to GreenLake and found success?
Yeah, so the very first one was a large law enforcement agency here in Arizona. Right when COVID hit, they had an immediate need for increased capacity on their storage system. And we had been talking to them about GreenLake prior to this. And so it's in the back of their mind. COVID hits, the director calls me, is like, hey, I need this quickly. COVID is hitting, we have a lot of remote workers, and we don't have the capacity. So I had already had a statement of work set up. I sent it over to him. They had an emergency authorization signature by the chief. We got it signed, got it over to HP. We literally had hardware on site within 3 business days. And customers was like blown away, right? So that's a really cool, that probably doesn't happen all the time. But the other thing that drove that is, if you're familiar with CGIS certification, every state is mandated by the FBI to maintain a specific set of security standards for data that the city law enforcement, county and state law enforcement have to abide by. What we found is each state has a CGIS certified person that's responsible for the entire state. And this law enforcement agency is holding that authority by the FBI. And so they're finding that with GreenLake, they don't have to go through any special certification to be CGIS compliant. Whereas in public cloud, it's very difficult to get that certification for each workload that they have to deploy in a public cloud environment.
Let's move into our last topic, topic 3, an expanding opportunity. Andy, how does GreenLake enable your customers to grow now and in the future?
Well, GreenLake creates a foundation or a platform for them. We can start small or we can add on very quickly. The cool thing is we have a team of people, including us as a partner. We have a seat at the table. Whenever they have new projects coming on, we're able to provide input about different solutions within the HP portfolio that we can augment with. There's also a services team that we have frequent reviews of utilization, monitoring growth trends, and finding out if we need to land more equipment, or if that spike of utilization was something that was temporary, or something that we needed to bring more equipment to take care of. And one of the nice things is the statement of work has all this laid out, and it ends up that there's actually a lower cost per unit as capacity is increased.
Andy, last question in today's interview. What is the value of the HPE Milestone partnership for your customers?
I think the first thing is being a unified team. Working together to solve customer pain points is important for the customers to see, and it's also important for us in our relationship with HPE, because they know that we're in this together, and that's a big thing that customers recognize. The second thing I would say is having an understanding of GreenLake, how it works, what it does, what it doesn't, and providing additional education and training within our team so we can talk intelligently about addressing how GreenLake works. The third thing is customers do want collaboration with a core team to help solve their challenges. And with Milestone and the HPE team, I feel like we bring a lot of value to the table. A specific amount of expertise, because we can talk through different objections and address all the customers' questions, and collaboration to solve what the customer brings in front of us.
Andy, thank you so much for coming back and joining me once again. Before we go, I'd like to list my top takeaways from today's discussion. 1, the public cloud is not your only option in which to store your data. HPE GreenLake comes with a silicon root of trust baked in so you can be sure your data is being protected. 2. GreenLake can easily be deployed into new environments and be up and running in a matter of days, and can easily be adjusted and scaled as your needs change. And 3. GreenLake may already meet industry compliance standards where the public cloud may not, making the onboarding process even more streamlined. Thank you to everyone watching or listening to this episode of Pardon the Integration. Get peace of mind when it comes to your business's data with HPE GreenLake. Once again, I'm Katie Pavoso. Take care.